Hey there, how are you feeling today? Take a breath with me. Seriously, just pause for a moment and breathe. I know life is fast, and your heart might be full of thoughts right now. Work, family, maybe even some confusion about the world we live in. But right now, I want to invite you into a moment. A story. A memory of a day that changed everything. But this isn't about tragedy. Not yet. First, I want you to imagine something simple. A city, big, loud, alive. A sky so blue it looks painted. People walking fast with coffee in hand. Laughter echoing through the streets. This is New York City. This is September 10th, 2001. Before the world shifted, this place was full of the ordinary, and that's what made it so beautiful. The smell of roasted peanuts from the street vendors. The rhythm of subway trains underneath your feet. Tourists snapping photos in front of the Statue of Liberty. The city was busy, confident, a little impatient, but full of dreams. Now close your eyes and picture this, two tall towers standing side by side. The Twin Towers. You couldn't miss them, they reached high into the sky like two proud giants. They were more than just buildings made of steel and glass. They were part of people's lives. Part of the skyline. Part of home. Every morning, thousands of people went in and out of those towers. Some wore business suits, others wore uniforms. Some were security guards, others were janitors. Some worked on the 10th floor, others on the 80th. But each person had a routine. A coffee shop downstairs they liked. A friend they met at the elevator. A smile they gave to the receptionist on their way in. Life was ordinary, beautifully ordinary. Kids went to school that Monday. Teachers planned lessons. Wall Street traders rushed to work. Tourists looked up at the Twin Towers in awe, taking pictures and dreaming of what it must be like to work so high up. And somewhere in Brooklyn, a woman kissed her husband goodbye and said, "See you tonight." Somewhere in New Jersey, a father told his daughter, "Have a good day at school." The world didn't know. No one did. That it was the last normal sunset they'd see for a long time. You see, when we talk about history, about events that shaped the world, we often jump straight into the horror. The breaking news. The tears. The fear. But what we miss sometimes is what came before. The human part. The quiet part. The lives that were whole before they were broken. And that's why I want to start here, not with fear, but with life. Because September 11th isn't just about destruction. It's about people. It's about love. And it's about moments we take for granted, until they're gone. Back in 2001, the Twin Towers were symbols of American strength. They were built in the 1970s, and each tower had 110 floors. Together, they held over 50,000 workers on any given day. Think about that, a small city within two towers. They had restaurants, banks, shops, even a subway running underneath. And up at the very top, there was a restaurant called Windows on the World. People proposed there. Celebrated birthdays. Watched the sunset over Manhattan. Imagine eating dinner with someone you love, 1,300 feet above the ground, watching the city glow below you. But these towers were more than a New York landmark. They were global. People from all over the world worked there, from Japan, the UK, India, Nigeria, Mexico. It wasn't just American soil, it was human soil. It was shared space. Different languages, cultures, religions, all in one place. Peacefully coexisting. The sun rose over New York City on September 11, 2001, painting the sky in soft strokes of gold and pale blue. It was one of those late summer mornings that felt almost too perfect, the kind of day that makes people smile without knowing why. The air was crisp. The sky. Not a cloud in sight. A soft breeze moved through the streets, and even the usual sounds of honking taxis and rolling suitcase wheels felt somehow peaceful. It was a Tuesday, and for the people of New York, and the rest of America, it began like any other. In the financial district of Lower Manhattan, workers poured into the Twin Towers. Some stopped for coffee at the corner carts. Others rushed through subway tunnels, briefcases in hand, eyes on the time. The World Trade Center was buzzing as usual. In the North Tower, meetings had just begun. Secretaries answered phones, computers booted up, and conversations echoed in elevators climbing floor after floor. On the 107th floor of the North Tower, the Windows on the World restaurant had just opened for breakfast service. Chefs moved in harmony, preparing meals for a business conference set to begin at 8:30 a.m. Waitstaff arranged white napkins on tables with floor-to-ceiling views of the glowing city. Across the Hudson in New Jersey, commuters boarded ferries and PATH trains. At airports across the country, passengers boarded planes, including American Airlines Flight 11 and United Airlines Flight 175, completely unaware of the sinister plot that was unfolding around them. In homes, children ate cereal while watching cartoons. Parents packed lunches. Teachers took attendance. The entire nation moved with the rhythm of routine, its people held gently in the calm before an unimaginable storm. At 8:46 a.m., everything changed. American Airlines Flight 11 crashed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center between the 93rd and 99th floors. The explosion sent fire and smoke billowing into the sky. At first, confusion. People thought maybe it was a small plane. An accident. But when the smoke thickened and the flames grew, and when newscasters began to cover it live, the world began to understand something was terribly wrong. Within minutes, firefighters, paramedics, and NYPD officers rushed toward the scene. Office workers, stunned and terrified, crowded stairwells. Many helped one another down flight after flight, while others were trapped above the impact zone, calling loved ones with shaky voices to say goodbye. At 9:03 a.m., as cameras captured the burning North Tower, United Airlines Flight 175 crashed into the South Tower between floors 77 and 85. The explosion was enormous. The sound shook the city. Now, there was no doubt, this was no accident. America was under attack. Smoke blanketed downtown Manhattan. Papers rained from the sky like confetti, memos, invoices, sticky notes, fragments of everyday life now suspended in chaos. People ran. Others froze. Many stood still, looking up in horror. Some prayed. Others screamed. A few filmed with their camcorders, capturing history in real time. Inside the towers, chaos met courage. First responders climbed floors with 80 pounds of gear. Office workers carried the injured. One man with blindness was led down 78 flights by his guide dog. Another stopped to help a woman in a wheelchair. Strangers became lifelines. Above the impact zones, smoke-filled hallways. Some people climbed to the rooftops, hoping for rescue. Others broke windows, gasping for air. And some made the heart-wrenching decision to jump, choosing air over fire. In the streets, witnesses wept. The world watched in disbelief as two of the tallest buildings on Earth burned under a cloudless sky. As the towers burned, thousands tried to escape. Firefighters kept going up while civilians came down. Radios crackled with panic. Stairwells filled with smoke. Yet, amid the terror, stories of unthinkable bravery began to unfold. Firefighter Ario Palmer made it to the 78th floor of the South Tower, carrying a heavy bag of tools and helping others along the way. He reported calm in his voice. He was one of the many who would never make it out. In Stairwell B of the North Tower, a group of firefighters and civilians huddled together. They heard the South Tower collapse, a sound like 1,000 trains screaming. Dust and blackness swallowed everything. Miraculously, when the North Tower later collapsed, this stairwell held firm. They were among the few survivors pulled from the rubble hours later. Port Authority police officer Will Jimeno was trapped in the wreckage for over 13 hours. Beside him lay Sergeant John McLaughlin, who kept him awake with conversation, encouraging him to hold on. 2 Marines found them by chance. Their survival was a miracle. Outside, volunteers poured in. Off-duty nurses, paramedics, construction workers. Boats carried people across the Hudson in the largest maritime evacuation in U.S. history. Over 500,000 were rescued by water that day. While New York was under siege, the Pentagon, America's military heart, became the next target. At 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the west side of the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia, killing 125 people inside and 59 aboard the plane. Fires erupted, walls collapsed, and the shock rippled through Washington. But tragedy wasn't finished. United Airlines Flight 93 had been hijacked en route to San Francisco. Passengers, learning of the earlier attacks via phone calls, made a courageous decision to fight back. In their final moments, they stormed the cockpit, forcing the plane to crash into a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, at 10:03 a.m. All 44 on board died, but their sacrifice likely saved the U.S. Capitol or White House. They became symbols of defiance and bravery. At 9:59 a.m., the South Tower collapsed in a thunderous roar. A dust cloud raced through Manhattan, swallowing everything in its path. People ran, some barefoot, covered in ash. Many thought another bomb had gone off. The earth shook. At 10:28 a.m., the North Tower followed. In 102 minutes, both towers had fallen. Over 2,700 lives were lost in New York alone. Rescuers on the ground were buried in debris. Survivors struggled to breathe. A thick, toxic dust coated cars, streets, skin. The city became grey and silent. Hospitals filled. Families waited by phones. Some posted missing flyers across the city, hoping, praying. Mayor Rudy Giuliani called it the worst day in New York's history. President George W. Bush addressed the nation, his face marked with shock but his voice calling for strength. The world mourned. Candlelight vigils appeared from Paris to Tokyo. People wept for strangers. Nations lowered flags. Churches, mosques, temples filled with prayers. In America, fear and unity danced together. Security transformed overnight. Airports changed forever. Policies like the Patriot Act passed. But so did a new spirit of kindness. People held doors open. Hugged longer. Asked, "Are you okay?" and meant it. Children waited for parents who wouldn't come home. Husbands searched for wives. Friends grieved together. Trauma settled deep into families and communities. But so did resilience. Recovery took months. Firefighters dug through rubble day and night. The air remained thick with smoke for weeks. But out of the ashes, hope grew. One World Trade Center, the Freedom Tower, was built taller than before. Memorials were erected with names of the fallen. The 9/11 Museum opened underground, preserving the memory and the lessons. In Shanksville, a quiet memorial honors the Flight 93 heroes. At the Pentagon, a glowing wall of light remembers the lives lost. Survivors formed support groups. Children of the fallen became activists, artists, teachers. America kept its promise, never forget. What did we learn? That courage can rise even when buildings fall. That ordinary people can become heroes. That unity is not weakness. From a firefighter carrying a stranger to a passenger calling home with "I love you," 9/11 taught us that love matters most. It reminded us to see each other, really see each other, beyond race, religion, or belief. It taught us that hate can destroy, but compassion rebuilds. Children born that year are now adults. Their world is different. But the stories we tell them shape what comes next. September 11, 2001, didn't just change history. It changed hearts. It reminded the world that tomorrow is never promised. So let's remember, not just the pain, but the people. Not just the fall, but the rise. Let's live with kindness, walk with courage, and speak with love. Because in the end, the strongest towers we build are in the way we treat one another. And that, we must never forget.